Hi, it's Tony from Dragon Slayers. What I'm looking at is the Lost City, this incredible early adventure for the basic expert Dungeons and Dragons game. It was published by TSR in 1982, and as it is, it's great fun, but it's very traditional. Knock down one door, there's a monster. Knock down the next door, there's a very different monster, and there's no relationship necessarily between the two monsters. They just exist. And so that doesn't make sense for me, and I think a lot of modern players don't enjoy that sort of thing. So what I did for the current Slayers is just turn it around and just modernize it a bit. It's great. The maps are fantastic. This is a pyramid in a desert. So the characters enter here, work their way down. But the DM is required to invest a lot of time in the lower levels, particularly the underground city map, where you've got ideas about what these regions are, but you actually have to do a lot of the filling out yourself. And I think some modern players find that a little bit difficult. They might not have the time or the resources to do it. Really, you need to be committed to a D&D game to really fill all the blanks and do it yourself. And I personally enjoy doing that. One of the things I did was make sure that the different factions within the game were allied. So the Righteous Order of Gorm, the Magi of Usamegaras, and the Warrior Maidens of Madarua were allied. The aim was that they were united to regain the pyramid for themselves and kick out the priests of Zargon. And then from the pyramid, they would go into the city and help free the Synodician people and eventually kick out Zargon. And of course, then I had to question who Zargon actually was, and I decided to play around with that idea. First thing I did was work out where all the entrances are, going down level by level, so you know what room, what space, what area. And then I tweaked each of the, basically I cut and paste the text, and then I retweaked the way it was meant to be spoken to the players. I've redone that, make it sound interesting. In some places I've just left it alone. I've changed the maps, so what you have is a temple that's partly in decay. And of course, some of these things haven't been touched in a while. And by doing that, of course, I've had to change the wandering monsters so they made a little bit more sense. And here we have some really nice bits as well. And then I introduced things like ghouls, and I thought, well, in a desert where you've got lots of dead bodies in a pyramid, you're bound to have ghouls. So I actually had a ghoul complex built into this. And then the revolving corridor, I changed what level that was on. Here we have more ghouls, the descent then into the city, going down into the city. I had a gelatinous cube in this area as well. And then I decided to convert the crypt into a place that was like a factory. So I had robots, like 1950s style robots, big clunky things that fired very basic laser guns. And of course, if the adventurers worked together, they could defeat them quite easily, but give it a bit of a sci-fi touch, I thought. And then you have this railway line going to the assembly plant. And the assembly plant means then you have the rocket that's being rebuilt to take Zargon home. And this is where the food is being canned. So Synodicians are fed on this fungus. And of course, I've gone into the special abilities the fungus gives to the Synodicians themselves, who are dreaming of their heroes who will come back to help them. But those who are killed are canned for food and put into the ship. So Zargon can be found here, and he's in the lake here. So you can have a nice battle down here. And the nice thing about this is that it gives the impression to the players that you've done lots and lots of mapping. You're just suggesting it. It doesn't actually mean you've done it, although you can if you want to, but I don't think you need to. You just make it up on the spot. And then, of course, the whole idea that the players then unite with those three martial factions to get rid of Zargon, I think is great, and freeing the people. And then they can get back, once they've done that and they've escaped the pyramids, they can go back and find the caravan that they were once a part of. And anyway, it just continues that story. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of insight. See, I've just sort of given player character background and the reason for adventuring. So they are actually supporting a rebellion in Karamikos. There's a princess, Traladaran princess, who's been recognised. And of course, I've got the hoodies. There's like a Robin Hood sort of group there as well in the forests, trying to get rid of Duke Hendrix. And so it's just given a colonial spin on Karamikos, and I'll talk about that in another video. But this was lots and lots of fun, and I do treasure this. And it's one of my favourite adventure modules, just because it's a blast from the past, but also because you can update it and you can still have a lot more fun with it, even though it's not 5th edition. I can't afford the Goodman Games stuff. I just had to do it myself. So that's just commitment on my part, and that's something I was willing to do. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Tell me what you've done with this adventure. I'd be really happy to hear from you. Okay, cheers, bye.